Hello and welcome to another episode of Scottish Football Matters with myself, Lorenzo, and my good friend Murray.
All right.
Tonight we're going to be discussing last night's Euro ties in the Europa League, and we'll discuss Celtic's progression and the draw that was made today. They're going to face Stuttgart, so we'll have a look over that one. We'll also have a little talk over transfers, see who's coming in, who's coming out of the teams, and then we will look forward to the weekend's fixtures and do our usual preview and predictions of that. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. Obviously last night was a wee bit different for me than it was for you. It was a bit meaningless. It's a bit
Mhm.
like a glorified kickabout, whereas you had a proper tie.
Something to play for.
But I suppose we'll start on Rangers because it was the least meaningful game. But I
Hmm
actually thought Rangers played some good stuff. But again, if you make individual errors that Rangers make, that you get found out at that level.
hmm
Um, and I'm obviously fingers crossed. I'm hoping Rangers are getting all their silly errors out of their system because obviously we've got big games in the league coming up, and I don't care who you play against. If you make mistakes like we made last night, you'll lose goals. And
Well,
obviously Rangers' record in the league has been pretty good defensively
let's
recently.
hope you
So,
make more mistakes.
well,
Well,
I'd
I'm
like to
all be
think
hoping
that
for that.
when you take Tavernier out of the team, put Sterling in, those things won't happen. But I thought Rangers actually played some good stuff, scored a nice goal, and then, as I said, shot themselves in the foot. It's not that Porto didn't deserve to win; they did, but they didn't have to work particularly hard to beat us, and
Hmm
that's probably the annoying thing. Is when you leave that game, you go, okay, did they open me up? Did they slice you open? They had 3 shots on target in the game, scored 3 goals. One was an own goal. One was a defensive goalkeeping calamity. So that gives you
So, so
evidence
that
there that they didn't
so that's you.
have
You're
to
blaming
particularly
Butland for
work
one of the
hard to
goals, then,
win. I'd blame more Tavernier, but it was a
right?
communication thing because Tavernier makes an absolute arse of it, and then he sort of he jumps into Butland, and the ball just goes in. But
Captain
what I would
Fantastic.
say though is Rangers were miles out of it before last night.
Mm.
But I've seen some good signs in terms of how Danny would set us up away from home against good teams because obviously Porto are a good team. I mean, Porto, you could argue, are the best team that any of us have faced in the Europa League. Uh,
hmm
but Rangers actually performed better against them than they did against teams like Brann and Sturmgratz and Ferencvaros, who are a lot worse.
How
So
many games? How many games in the Europa League has Danny Rowe taken charge of?
5.
All right, so he's taken charge of quite a lot of them. I was going to say he won't be judging until next season's Europe, but he kind of had. He's had more that he had more
I
this
don't think.
season than
Uh,
than Russell Martin had in Europe.
I
So,
don't think he'll be judged in terms of it wasn't his squad.
well,
Just like, let's be honest, if Rangers don't go on and win the league, people will say it's because it wasn't his squad, but it's
that's the
really
get out,
because we
isn't it?
couldn't
That's
go
the
over the
usual
line.
get
Aye.
out.
But I do think he's got a point in terms of, as you've seen even Martin O'Neill struggle with, see when that squad's picked before
hmm
he joins, he can't make changes to it.
I know,
And,
but
you
he's
know,
trying. He's obviously tried this month, and it's not happened yet. We've not really made many changes at all to this squad that we've
no,
got.
but what I would say though is Rangers have, under Danny Rule, it's been one draw, one draw, one win, 3 defeats, which isn't good enough. But at the same time, I think even the best Rangers teams would probably lose to Roma and um, Roma and Porto.
Aye.
But I think the disappointing ones will be Ferencvaros away. I think you should
Well,
do better against that.
I still think us
And
losing to Michelin was pretty disappointing because I
no,
know
I
they're
think they're
good,
a good. They're on a good run. They're a bit
but
like one
but
of those teams that's playing well.
I thought we could have maybe got a draw. You know, if we'd have.
But I think,
If Martin had been in a bit earlier, or somebody else
yeah.
had been in, we might have got a
But I
draw.
do think. I think it's a real missed opportunity for Rangers because I look at a lot of the teams like yourselves who are in that playoff round, and I don't think there's many who are better than Rangers. But
Oh, the team that we've got, I'd rather had the other one. I mean, obviously we missed it in
but
Ferencvaros, but
there's
Stuttgart
a
are better
lot
than
of teams there
Ferencvaros.
who deserve to be there because they played better than we did. It's
Hmm
as simple as that.
Yeah.
And but what I would say though is it is what it is. Europa League. Rangers have performed way beyond their expectation for about a decade,
Well,
and
a
now
few years anyway.
we've had a we've had a bad year, and we had a bad year when we got to Champions League. But Champions League you could understand because that was a level up,
Well, the players that you had,
and
I'd say the players that
on
you
top
had
of
that
that,
weren't good enough for the Champions League.
not just that, the group was just terrible.
Oh,
Getting
Liverpool, who else
Liverpool,
was it?
Napoli, and Ajax.
Napoli and
There was
Ajax.
no like, oh, you can win that game. It was all
Uh,
like,
it was
ooh.
pumped all round. Aye.
Yeah. So I think Rangers have performed above their level, and I'm actually quite glad. I know it's going to sound quite selfish, but I'm delighted to see the shoe on the other foot because for many a year over the last decade, not that there's been that many title races, but when there has been closeness, Rangers have been in Europe and Celtic haven't. And we've had to jump that Thursday, Sunday, while you just get to concentrate in the league.
Well, I wouldn't call us
And
being in the playoff still in Europe. I think we'll get beat anyway. I don't
it
think
is
we'll beat
still,
Stuttgart. I don't think we'll beat Stuttgart.
you say
I,
that
th-
though, but you need
I
to
think
play
we'd have beat.
Stuttgart.
I think we would have had a better chance of beating Ferencvaros, but I don't think we'll beat
What I'm
Stuttgart.
saying no is you still need to play Stuttgart, and the two games you have to play after that are home to Hibs and away
I
to
know, and then
Rangers.
away to Rangers. I know.
They're tough games in
Don't
general
remind me.
without any Thursday night game before them.
What I'd have preferred the Rangers game to have been after the home game rather than the away game.
Aye,
But
after the travelling.
sod's
But
law.
what I would say though is how many times have Rangers had to do this? But by the way, how many times did everyone? I remember one in particular. We played Braga and went all the way to extra time, and then we played Celtic in a cup semi 3 days later, and everyone went, "Oh, we'll be knackered. We'll not get a chance." And it went to extra time, and Rangers looked the fitter team and ended up winning in extra time. So it does show you that it's
Well,
a
we
lot of
could do
piss
that.
sometimes.
We could do that
People,
to
do you know what I mean?
Ibrox.
People go, "Oh, it's harder." And I remember Celtic on the European run. If I'm right in saying, you played Boa Vista
Mhm.
and came back and then went to Ibrox
And we won.
and you won.
Hmm.
Whereas everyone thought, "Oh, Rangers have had a full week of this. Celtic
That's
have
right,
had
because that was known as
games."
Beach Ball Sunday, wasn't it?
I remember. I don't know how you get who gets a Lilo in Glasgow. Would you even
A
get them?
Lilo? I don't know. Don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Beach ball fair does, but I was
Beach Ball
seeing like
Sunday.
big. I was seeing big like
Aye.
pelicans and all that shit, and Lilo's not. I've never seen
Maybe
a
they brought
Lilo
them
on
back
Chapel
for.
Street.
Maybe they brought them back for Portugal. I don't know.
I don't know, but what I would say though is I don't think it's a gimme that gives Rangers a big advantage. Sometimes you can have too long to think about a game.
Mhm.
But
Well,
if we go,
I like the narrative. Sorry, before we continue, I like the narrative of I'm a big advocate for. I'd rather be playing football, as in still in Europe. I'm sure you're the same. You'd rather your club was still in Europe as well. Of course you would.
absolutely,
You'd
but
rather be playing football than not be playing football. That's what I mean.
what I would say is I'm just going to be totally brutally honest. I don't think we're good enough to deal with multiple competitions at the moment.
I don't think we are either.
So, so
Somehow we're
possibly
still
it is a good
we're
thing.
still in Europe, but
You know,
Celtic are still in
I think
Europe.
it might be a good thing for Danny Rowe in his first season to have just domestic to focus on. But I think if we go on to the Celtic game, it was batshit crazy. um,
Great opening first 20 minutes or something like that. Yeah,
it
and
started
then
well, obviously. Negrin scores, and then he does really well for the own goal because he
mhm,
reads the terrible pass by
pass from
Barkas.
Vasily Barkas.
Then you just get the penalty, which, let's be honest, no one wants them as penalties, but they are
No,
penalties based on the stupidity of the law.
yeah.
But we don't want to see them. But we
What I
understand
did
it.
say last night when I was watching the game, I said, I don't think it is a penalty, but if we get it, I'll take it. 'Cause why wouldn't you? You take the
It is a
penalty when you get
penalty.
it.
It is a penalty based on the stupidity of the rules. It's not a
Aye,
penalty based on common sense.
I thought,
But to be fair, the guy actually gets done by trying to hold and push because he puts his arms up to start wrestling with Trusty,
yeah.
and because his arms are in that position, it bounces off him, and
Hmm.
he's a wee bit unlucky. But then I've got to admit, from 3-0, I thought Celtic were really, really poor. Especially not so much the
Yeah,
second half, but especially that sort of last 15 minutes of the first
the
half.
first half.
I thought Celtic were terrible, and
Hmm.
Kasper Schmeichel bails them out right on half time Because I
And that,
think if
but
it goes 3-2, then
hmm
that could be a different game.
I knew we'd concede a goal. I knew it. Could see it coming. Knew it happened. Knew it was
And
happening.
then the second goal's a great counter attack where the keeper's a wee bit suspect for the finish, but the
hmm
counter attack's brilliant.
And then we
And
got the
then
part,
obviously
get the corner.
Celtic, yeah, and not many Celtic fans actually seen it because
No,
I think
that's
it
right.
cut
I
out.
didn't either. Yeah, the telly cut out, so I didn't see it.
No.
The TV cut out.
But I
Unfortunately.
think it was a good result for Celtic, and obviously they now have Stuttgart, who have some. I don't think Stuttgart are a great team, but I think they're a very good team. You know, they've
Well,
got players like Dennis Undav, who used to be at Brighton and Union St Gilloise. He's a player. They always seem to have good young German players who they tend to move on to the likes of Bayern Munich and Dortmund. So I think
Stuttgart
you'll
for me have
probably
always been
see.
a kind of a decent side. Even when we played them back in 2003 in the Seville run, they were all right.
Yeah,
You know, I know we beat them,
they,
but I mean, we
you
only beat
did,
them
but
5-4 in aggregate. But
I think I think it was more about them being inexperienced because, as I said, they were all kids that they had, and they kind of froze at Celtic Park,
yeah,
and they lost. I think the game 3-1. But
3-1,
when they went over there, they were brilliant. I know Celtic got the 2 goals,
two
but
goals.
I remember that night watching it. I mean, it was back in the day when you got games on the BBC, and I
That's
remember
right.
watching it on like BBC Two, if I remember rightly, and it was like an early
Those were
kickoff.
the
I want to
days.
say like a 6 o'clock kickoff or
That's
something.
right. You're right. It was an early kickoff. Uh-huh.
And I remember thinking Stuttgart could have scored about 8 if they had a wee bit of experience, and it felt like
Mhm.
those sort of those young teams that you kind of just go,
Aye.
oh, a few old heads in that team, and they would have not just beat yours, but they would have beat a lot of teams in that competition.
I still,
But
I loved it. I thought it was
they,
brilliant. The
they didn't.
Celtic one, regardless of whether they had kids or no, I thought it was great at the
No,
time.
Celtic were great, but what I'm saying is, I just think that they were maybe a couple of years too soon,
hmm
or else they could have went on to a final because they
Because
were
I'm pretty
that
sure a
good.
few other players must have went on and became good
Oh, they
players
did. I mean,
elsewhere.
Kadira went on to
Aye, Aye, he played for
Leverkusen,
Germany, didn't he?
then
Played for Germany.
Real Madrid as well.
Is
So,
it Sami Khedira? Is that his name, or was it?
aye.
Aye.
He was one of those like Turkish players, but
Aye, but
plays
he
for
played for
Germany.
Germany. Same with Podolski, who was
Uh,
Polish but
and
played for Germany. Lucas
Mesut
Podolski.
Ozil, he was another.
And Miroslav Klose wasn't German either.
Yeah, he was
Mhm.
only good in the World Cup. He was useless any other time. But no, I think it's a good result for Celtic. It's a it's the tougher of the two ties,
I would say
but
so. As I said, I wanted Ferencvaros, but didn't happen.
but you need to be in it to win it. So you need to take it as there's
hmm
always a chance. And let's be honest, under Brendan Rodgers or Wilfred Nancy, you are getting pumped. But under Martin O'Neill, you've got a chance
Even
because he
do you think
knows
even
how
under
to.
Brendan Rodgers, I know. Aye, do you think so?
Well, Brendan Rodgers never won a European tie, did he? Like a knockout
What
tie.
and the whole time that he, well, no,
He
I
never won
suppose
a
you're right.
knockout tie, apart from
No,
an early season playoff against teams like Astana,
aye, well,
who,
aye,
let's be honest,
suppose,
you should be beaten.
suppose.
And I'm pretty
But the
sure he
thing,
beat Lincoln Red Imps.
What I will
But
say in Brendan's defence is, see if he's given the tools to do the job properly, he probably
he
would
was,
have beaten teams.
but he was given the tools to beat teams like AEK Athens
I
properly.
get that,
And
but
I
I
remember he's had one
still
against. I want to say it was a team like Malmo or Molde or something, and he
still
failed.
don't think at the beginning of this
And
season he was given
look,
proper
I don't. I
proper
agree,
money
but
and proper
let's be
tools
honest,
to do the job.
Brendan Rodgers has never succeeded in European football. Even when he was at Liverpool, he was hopeless.
Apparently he's doing all right where he is at the minute. He's not really lost a
Oh,
game,
it's because he's
so
not in European football, so it's
well,
because
I
he's
know.
kicking about in Arab land. But he was always poor when it came to knockout ties. Obviously against Liverpool, they came up against some good teams, but I don't know. I think Martin O'Neill. What I'm saying, my point is that Martin O'Neill gives you a chance.
Martin O'Neill's got a lot of
He's
experience in Europe. He's obviously took Celtic to a final. He had European experience with other teams down in England, Leicester,
and let's be
Aston
honest,
Villa.
he's which is probably embarrassing for you, but he's the last manager to win a knockout tie for Celtic,
That is quite
and that
embarrassing.
tells you how embarrassing it is. The last time it was 2004.
Well, that was before Peter Lawwell came in as well. That was the last time we won a European knockout tie was before Peter Lawwell came into Celtic.
Obviously after Christmas, we mean, because obviously
Aye.
they've won qualifiers, but let's be
hmm
honest, the standard of teams
That's
you meet
not
in
classed as a
qualifiers,
knockout tie.
exactly. But Celtic have lost to teams that they shouldn't
Teams
have lost to.
shouldn't be losing exactly.
like Bodo Glimt, that was a
Mhm.
poor one. Valencia, I'll give you. Rodgers was unlucky. That was a decent Valencia team. So I'm pretty sure I remember there was a Russian boy that scored
Mhm.
at Parkhead. Can't
Mhm.
remember his name, but he
We
was a good
played, we
winger.
played, we
And
played teams like
they won 2
Molde,
0.
Ferencvaros,
You need to be doing
uh,
better against that level.
Kairat Almaty. Oh
And
God,
it must have annoyed you over the last 5 to 10 years watching Rangers beat these teams
of
and do
course.
pretty well, because Rangers have taken care of the
But
Europa
the
League level
thing about the
teams,
thing
shall we
about
say?
Rangers is Celtic don't do this, but Rangers always seem to set up correctly to play in Europe. Celtic have never
Yeah,
done that for years. Well,
I
since
think
Martin
Rangers.
O'Neill was here in 2000, the 2003 run to the final, but we've never really set up
I, I
that way.
genuinely think that goes with the league as well. I think Rangers are more comfortable not having the ball. Like, whereas Celtic need to have a certain style of play and it has to be fast attacking football.
But they
Whereas
should.
Rangers, even under
Celtic
the
should
Walter
have
Smith
that. So
years,
should
no, no.
Rangers as well, though. But
But I remember days under Walter Smith where Rangers would go to Tynecastle and come away with 40% possession and win the game.
well, I
You
suppose.
know,
Aye. Get a
and that's
penalty.
that's madness. But then, no, we only ever got a few penalties at Tynecastle, and one was under Walter. Yeah, that Boyd scoring in the last minute. But what I would say is, it's a good draw for Celtic in terms of it's glamorous,
Mhm.
it's nostalgic, because the last time you played Stuttgart was that
Mhm.
game.
Aye, we beat them. We've
Um,
only ever played them that once. That's it. We've never played them again.
do I think you will get through? No,
No, I
probably
don't think.
not. If
I
I'm
don't think
being
so
totally
either.
honest, I think that they're probably a step above.
Yeah.
But I do think you've got a chance having the home leg at home first, and
I don't.
sorry, home
I
leg at
don't
home
think
first.
we'll get.
Obviously,
I
home
don't
leg at
think we'll
home, but
get
you know what I mean.
pumped or anything like that. But
No, no, but I think it could be like a 4-3 on aggregate, something like that. But yeah, I think it's a good one, and it's you know it's nice to see Celtic doing their bit for the coefficient. If I'm honest, because
well, we need the
although you have
coefficient to
been
stay up,
although
don't we?
you have been unlucky in terms of you have been in the top
Hmm.
tier,
Hmm.
but when you have dropped down to Europa League, apart from that season under Lennon, you have not
I know,
really done well enough.
and we should have done. We should have. But
Yeah, because Rodgers had a go at Europa League. Postecoglou had a go at Europa League,
yeah,
albeit he was a wee
Ronnie
bit.
Tyler, I'm sure. Did he know if I got it as well?
He had a couple of goes and he was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think let's see. Let's see. I
Aye,
think
well,
the Celtic got a chance. But if we move on
hopefully.
to transfers, it's a tricky one because obviously we don't know what's going to happen before Monday. But I think from Rangers' point of view, we need to get Rothwell, Matondo, Danilo out the door. Maybe Curtis and Inciala out on loan.
Well, you did say to me Matondo could be going to
Yeah,
Norwich, so
Norwich. And I think we need to get a holding midfielder and a striker in the door. And it has to be better than what we have.
mm,
So it's on Rangers to do it. I don't want to say any more because you just don't know. We'll talk more about what we actually get on Tuesday,
hmm.
because I think you could spend 20 minutes talking about rumours, and I know Celtic have got linked with every winger under the sun this week.
Well,
Um, but I think essentially what Celtic need to me, and I don't know if you'll agree, is a centre back, a
yep,
right winger, a
hmm,
striker, and
yep.
if possible, a centre mid who's a ball winner.
I would say so. Well, that's what 3 or 4 signings.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we'll get before.
Because I think
I'm
the goalkeeper can wait till the summer,
aye,
which I know you need to upgrade on.
aye. But then I don't know. Is Sunny Salo going to get a chance? Is he going to be any good or going to be worth it? I don't know. I obviously seen earlier today that we're linked to a goalkeeper.
Mm.
Um, his name escapes me, but I remember you were obviously we
It's
were
a
discussing it earlier. A Polish
Polish goalie,
goalkeeper. Aye.
23-year-old. But yeah, I think that's the summer though, because that seems to me like a Schmeichel replacement. Just like as
Hmm.
I've said, Rangers are linked with that German holding midfielder that plays for Cologne,
Bobek, that's his
and
name. Bobek. I can't remember his
Bobic's
first
rolling.
name, but his second name's Bobek, the goalkeeper. Bobek.
But the one after is called Eric Martel, which just reminds me of that
Aye,
old wrestler,
Rick the
Rick
model.
Martel. Aye.
Rick the model.
But this boy's ex-Germany under 21 captain. He's 22 years old.
Hmm.
He's a holding midfielder. You can't read too much into transfer market values, but apparently he's worth 8 million, and that's with 6 months he's left on his deal. And I
Yep.
think we've offered him a pre-contract, whether or not he agrees. But I think if we can get that one over the line, then I'd be doing my best to see if they can. But I think there was talk that they want like 4, 5, 6 million to release him early, and I think
Well,
Rangers are not going to pay that. That's stupid. Just
well,
go get a loan player.
apparently Celtic have agreed a fee of 6.5 million for
Yes.
Fares
Right
Gemez, the
winger, aye.
French right winger from the Italian Serie B side,
Yeah,
for Zione or something like that. I think they're
yeah,
called. I
yeah.
can't remember,
I have
but
to say,
something.
and I know you can't judge things on paper, but on paper that seems like, and I mean, but here
It's a lot of money for a Serie B player, though, isn't it?
players aren't judged on paper. It's
I
about
know,
how they hit the ground running.
but it is a
Yeah,
lot of money for a Serie
but
B.
let's be
But
honest.
I
I mean,
suppose Serie B is probably a lot stronger than our
Rangers
league. Let's face it.
Rangers spent 8 million on a striker that doesn't score goals. So, as we know, sometimes I think that players are identified by data analysis and a
Eh,
player trading model rather than the eye test, which
And at the end of the
fans
day,
look at.
Murray, the player, it's not the player's fault that they're at the price tag that they
No, it
get.
isn't Engels' fault he's 11
No,
million?
and it
Because
wasn't Adam
to me,
Ida's fault that he was 9 million.
Engels is a £6 million player. And if he was a £6 million player, I don't think he'd be judged as harshly as he is.
I
But
think
you
that
can go all the
Adam
way.
Ida is 4 or 5, and if we'd assigned Adam Ida for
uh,
4 or 5,
People
the,
would
the
say he was a good
judgment,
signing.
there'd been less judgment on him. Exactly.
The best example of that is Torre Andre 4,
Mhm.
12 million. But his record in Scotland was brilliant. I mean,
Yeah.
59 goals in 81 games. Most players we would go away going, that's brilliant. His problem was he
I
only
think
scored
Marco
one
Negri's got a
against
better
Celtic.
record, does he know?
No.
Goals to
Yeah,
games
but
ratio.
I think Foe's problem was he only scored one goal against Celtic and two in Europe. So if you're scoring that many goals, but by the way, they all count because you need
So he
to beat
basically
St
was the
John
Norwegian
teams.
Chris Boyd, because Chris Boyd only scored 1 goal against Celtic as well for Rangers.
Yeah, but in Boyd's defence, though, I never felt Boyd got the opportunities against Celtic as often. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think some people look at him and go, he played 14 times against Celtic and only got one goal. Aye, but how many of them were 5 minutes, 10 minutes? You know, it's not like Morelos who played every game and couldn't hit a
And
barn
still
door
couldn't,
against
I
you.
still couldn't score exactly.
Whereas Boyd I had sympathy for because, you know, Miller, Darchville, Novo, Purzel were all played ahead of him, you know, because it was just in Kuzan. It's another one.
Did
He
you
was
know have
played ahead of him.
Did you know have Rod Wallace back then as well, or is that too far back?
No, that was a wee bit earlier back.
Right.
Aye. I liked him. He's still one of the best free transfers I've ever seen. Going for Leeds and he was like absolutely brilliant. And everyone
Mm.
signed him. When we signed him, everyone went, "Who's this guy?"
No,
Because
I
we
knew
were
who
obviously
I knew who he was. I'd seen him
spending,
play for
but,
Leeds.
but we were spending lots of money on these Dutch players and Kanchelskis and all that, and everyone went, "Who's this wee free transfer coming in?" And he absolutely ripped it up.
That was a bit like Moravcik with us. I mean, Moravcik came from nowhere,
Mm.
and we were all like, "Who's this wee guy? Paying £300,000 for a 33-year-old?" And he turned out to be absolutely brilliant.
But yeah, I think
Grabbed the Bobby's arse at Celtic Park and everything. Absolutely
nice.
fantastic player.
I
2 footed.
remember his I
Magic.
remember his old firm debut, and I'd
That's right. Two
rather forget
goals.
that one.
5-1. My
Five
first
one,
Old Firm.
aye.
That was my first one that I went to. Aye.
Do you know, you'll laugh at this. I remember being out shopping with my mum and my sisters, right? And going into a Dixon's, right? And taking the controller off the wee guy who worked in there and using teletext to see score updates. And the goals every time I updated it, it was just another goal. And I was just like, because Rangers were really good at the time. I think Rangers were about 10, 12 points clear in the league at the time. And the title was
Mm.
over, but it was still embarrassing.
Aye, well.
Like,
It was
because let's be honest,
that was a good result for
we all lose
Celtic. I
old
loved
firm
that
games.
game. That was
Aye.
brilliant.
Like anyone can lose a derby because sometimes, you know, all it takes is one side to be
Mhm.
5% below the best and
And
the other
I
side to
think
be
it was
5% above.
I think that was the first
But
time we'd done that to use in a long, long time. I know at that point,
mm,
because obviously that was the psychological unlock you had there is for years with the 9 in a row and all that, and that's everything.
yeah, that was just one of the. I mean, you said beating us in the in other seasons where, like, I'm pretty sure that you said the 2-0 one that Burley and
Aye.
Lambert, and
Mm-hmm.
they've been convincing ones, but never pumpings.
Then the one each at Ibrox when Alan Stubbs scored in the last. I know it was Celtic Park when he scored the goal in the last minute and things like
He
that.
scored a belter at Ibrox as well, though. I remember him scoring.
Who?
Alan
Alan
Stubbs.
Stubbs?
He scored a
Are
goal
you
with his
sure?
left foot right in the top bin. Aye, that was a 1-1 game.
Don't really remember that.
I
Oh,
do, because
Ibrox.
I always remember players that. I mean, I also remember one where Rangers won 3-1, and it kind of felt like the one this season where Eric Bo Anderson scored two, and that kind of felt like Chermiti. This season it was
Mm.
like, that guy's shite and he's just
And
scored two.
I remember the game. I remember the game where the ball gets squared across to Peter Van Vossen, and he can balloon. Remember he ballooned it to the bar, and I was loving it. It's like
Honestly,
all he had
people
to do
forget
was score, and I'm going,
how
puts it to
good
the
was
bar.
Alberts in the build up to that. I mean, he skinned two players, literally like past the keeper and squared it.
Gave it to
I
Van
mean,
Vossen, and
what
then
do
he
you
just
want?
skies it to the bar.
I mean, especially when Alberts at
Celtic
that time
goalkeeper's
was
on his arse,
always
and he puts
scoring
the ball at the
against you.
bar.
When Alberts was always scoring against you, just put it in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But if we move on, obviously, I think we'll talk more about transfers on Tuesday because,
Yep.
as I said,
Deadline
it
day
can be
special.
very,
Well, it's
you
post
know,
deadline day special because it's not actually on deadline day.
we can talk so much about who might sign and who won't. But if we move on, it's a full card in the SPL, and I
Yep.
think there's some really interesting fixtures. If we start on Saturday, Kilmarnock Aberdeen, I've got to say I'm really torn with this one because on paper Aberdeen have turned it around. They've
Still not got a new
scored.
manager though.
Partick have just scored, but they've scored. They've
Oh, so
turned
they
it
have,
around with
fine.
the League Cup game and the Scottish Cup game, and then they beat Livingston 6-2. I don't know why though. I fancy Kelly tomorrow to get something. I just think it looks like they're signing Curtis. It looks like they've done another bit of business today.
They're obviously
I'm
signing
going to
Curtis
go
because
one
Billy
each,
Dodds and Neil
even though,
McCann have worked with him before. That's the reason they're taking him.
but it makes a lot of sense though.
Well,
A
aye,
kid
fair enough.
who wants, but a kid who wants to prove that Rangers are stupid for letting him go out on loan, because there's a lot of Rangers fans, right, that look at Mikey Moore, right, and look at Finlay Curtis, and I know a lot that think we shouldn't be developing Tottenham's player.
Well, what
Send
happens if he goes
Tottenham's
out on
player back
loan?
to Tottenham.
What happens if he goes out on loan and leaves Rangers and goes elsewhere?
Well, that's their problem, isn't it?
Okay.
How many times? That happens a lot. But what I would
Aye.
say though is, I think he'll, I think he'll do well, and I think he'll help Kilmarnock stay up. I think I could easily, if you've got what 16 games left, 15 games,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I could see him if he plays 15 games. I could see him getting 4 or 5 goals. I
Would you,
really believe
they,
he's.
they 4 or 5 goals keep them up. Then they don't end up in the
I
playoffs or
think. Uh,
get
well, I
relegated.
don't know. I don't think they get relegated, but I don't know if
Right.
that keeps them out
Hmm.
of 11th, because I think Dundee and St Mirren just look too strong for them. But I'm going to go one each. But I know that seems mental because Aberdeen seem to have turned the corner, but I still think Aberdeen are waiting to get a new manager. I don't think they've been particularly good on the road,
Mm-hmm.
Aberdeen, and I just think this one, I think Kelly will get a point, and I
Well, I
think
think
Neil McCann needs it.
Kelly are doing it. I mean, obviously they're not doing great, but I think
Mm,
Aberdeen will probably win it. I think I'll still shade it 2-1. I think.
okay. If we go on to Livingston Motherwell, I don't think this will be one-sided. I really don't. I think because it's at Livingston, I think
Mhm.
Livingston will give them a right good game. And I know they get beat 6-2 against Aberdeen. They shouldn't have, but there was signs there that they can score goals and play good football. I
Mhm.
think they'll lose, but I think it'll be 2-1 to Motherwell. I don't think it'll be easy.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you. I think Motherwell will win 3-0
Okay.
because Motherwell are on a good run and
Yeah,
Livingston
and they don't.
obviously aren't. They obviously aren't. So I
Yep.
think it'll be 3-0.
The next one I'm going to go, it's St Mirren against Dundee. I'm going to take the Buddies to get a win because I think they're due. And I think I've seen
Is it
signs that
is it in
it's at
Paisley?
St Mirren.
That's
Yeah,
it.
and I
Right,
think
right.
I've seen signs that St Mirren are maybe just lacking a wee bit of luck. But I think if they get that wee break of the ball or a deflection, you know what it's like. We've seen
Mhm.
it with any team that they just need that sneaky 1-0, and I think they'll get a sneaky 1-0 where
Yeah,
they might not play well, but they'll find a way.
you
And
might be
I'm going to
right.
take St Mirren.
But I think Dundee have obviously played well recently as well, and
They've
St Mirren
they've turned
haven't
a
been that
corner.
great. And I would
No,
say that St Mirren probably are due the win. I'm going to go one each on that one. I think it'll be a draw.
okay. The last one is the Saturday night game at Tannadice, Dundee United against Hearts, and I'm going to go draw on this one. I'm going to go one each, just because I think if this was at Tynecastle, I'd take Hearts, but with being at Tannadice and no Shanklin, no
Devlin, is he still hit? Devlin?
Devlin's out for 6. They're both out for 6 weeks.
And who was the
So,
other boy?
well, Beningham's back in
Beningham's
after
back.
suspension, I think.
Aye,
Aye.
Beningame.
But I just think Dundee United, as we said numerous times, the Jekyll and Hyde nature of them. I feel like they're all wrong for Hearts, though. Like, I feel like they're the sort of team that can cause Hearts problems
I
with,
would, I would like
Sapsford on the break. And who's the boy that plays? There's a boy, is it
Sapsford, no?
Fata? Well,
Fata.
Sapsford's a good player, but is it
Mm.
Fata?
Fata.
I just think, I watched Celtic, look what the big Czech boy done with his pace against Hearts.
Aye.
Now that Fata boy is
Big Tommy
probably
Caravan.
double the pace, right? He's probably double as quick, right? This boy,
Mm-hmm.
because Fata literally he was pulling away from really quick players that I've seen this season, and I just think I'm going to go one each, but I don't think it'll be. I don't think it'll be a classic. I just think
I
it'll
would,
be a tight game.
I would hope that it would be a one each or a draw, but I'm going to stick my neck out here. I'm going to say that Dundee United will shade it. I think Dundee United will surprise us and win 2-1.
It can happen.
I'm hoping for that,
Uh,
but I see, have live and hope.
On to Sunday, Celtic Falkirk. This is another one that I don't see it going the way some of Celtic's home games have went, like Dundee United, and I think he's did batter Falkirk in another game. I think Falkirk are different now than they were then, and I think Celtic on the back of a European match. I know they were at home. I think Celtic will win, but I just don't see it being. I see it being more like the one at Falkirk. But I think
Right.
Falkirk will score, because I think, I mean, let's be honest, anyone who watched that game between Celtic and Falkirk at Falkirk knows that Falkirk should have scored 3 or 4. Whenever that happens, right, I always find that the next time you play them, you score with your first shot. Do you ever see that happening quite a
Yeah,
lot? It's like
that's
one of those
happened.
ones where you have 90. I mean, I remember Rangers in the cup final against Hughes. We must have had about 20 shots, couldn't score, couldn't hit a barn door, used 1-1-0. And the
Julian.
next Old Firm game, Ryan Kent scored with our first shot. And it was just like, why couldn't that have happened 2 weeks ago? Like, do you know what I mean? And that now I think Celtic will win it. I'm
What's the score then?
struggling between 2-1 and 3-1, but I'm gonna say 3-1. But but it wouldn't surprise me if that third was in the 95th minute type thing. But
I'm actually going to.
that's where I'm going.
I'm going to agree with you. I hope we get a clean sheet, but being that we don't keep clean sheets of late, I
Yeah.
would say we'll win, but I think it'll be 3-1 as well.
Yeah, I also just think Falkirk are due a goal against you, because they've played well enough in all their games against you, and I think they've only scored in that League Cup game. Hibs Rangers, I think if we move on to. Now, I know you're going to say Hibs are going to get a draw because you're
That's what
obviously
that's what
going to talk.
that's what I
You're going
want
to
it to
speak with
be.
you're going to speak with your heart rather than your head.
Yeah.
But I just think sometimes, right, you get teams that, although they're not much better than you, they're all wrong for you. And I think Rangers have proved this year against Hibs that even though Hibs should have probably taken points off us this season, they've not. And I think there's a reason. I think we're just all wrong for them in terms of the set pieces were stronger, and Bowie going to Verona. I just look at that Hibs team and I think, do you
Is he
really see
definitely away?
goals?
He's definitely
Yeah,
away.
he's away. Aye,
He's
he's
away.
away today. Aye,
Is that
and I just
alone?
what's a £6 million, €7 million.
Jeez, oh. Right.
But
I don't think
I
me
just
personally, I don't think he's worth that money, but hey ho.
no. But how many other players go to, like Glenn and Miller? Not
I know.
went to Italy,
I know.
and they probably weren't worth the fees. But
No.
Italy have noticed that there's potential in the Scottish League, and they'll come for more of us.
They
I
probably
mean,
will.
don't be surprised if they come for Barron in the summer from us, because
Or even the boy, if the boy Donovan keeps playing for Celtic, you never know.
yep, exactly, because they like young Scottish hungry players. And
Seems to be.
but yeah, with Rangers, if we get back onto that, I don't think it'll be pretty. I think it'll be set pieces, but I think it'll be 2-1 Rangers, and I think it'll be one of those games where you go, they didn't really deserve that, but set pieces, or I just think physically Rangers looks too strong for Hibs. I look at the Hibs team and I go, apart from Bashiri
I
and
know.
Hanley, I just look at them and go, there's no much about you. And then you think if Rangers get 4, 5, 6 set pieces, they're going to score.
Disappointed
And
myself that Bowie's away, because I was, I mean, he was
because he
obviously a
adds a bit
good
of
player for them.
physical, he
That's
adds a
right.
bit of physicality as well. And I think if they play Boyle and Yuhan through the middle,
Mhm,
or Boyle and Cleege, it's not the same. Yes, it's fast, but
mhm.
there's no physicality. And you imagine, right, if Fernandez, Suter, Asgard, Chermiti, it's too many big players for set pieces.
So what do you
And
think the score's going to be?
2-1 Rangers, and I
Right,
wouldn't be surprised if both goals were by set pieces.
right. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Rangers won, but I am going to stick my neck out and say that it'll be either one each or two each. I can see it
Yeah,
when I score draw.
yeah.
Hopefully.
As I said, I mean, this is massive for Rangers, because I look at after this game, our next two games are home to Kilmarnock and then home to Queen's Park,
Hmm.
and that's an opportunity to get some of the players like whoever we sign between now and Monday, and
Hmm.
the left back Romans into the team,
Yeah.
and then it's all guns blazing once we play Motherwell the following Wednesday. But
Mhm.
yeah, I'm going with Rangers winning. It's not just my heart. I just think
Fair enough.
Rangers are just a bit
I
like
think
Aberdeen.
they probably
I
will
think
win,
we were all
but
wrong for
I'm
them.
hoping that they don't,
Aye,
obviously, for obvious
yeah.
reasons. But yeah,
But by the way, if we're on about Styles being all wrong, I think Falkirk are all wrong for yous. Like the way they play,
we'll
they're
see
gonna
what
get.
happens.
It was a bit like, do you remember how St Man, we just said they're due something against yous because you
Ah,
got lucky twice against them,
but that
and
was
then
it.
they
That
beat
was
us
under
in the cup
Nancy. If
final.
Nancy hadn't have been in
No,
there,
no,
I
but
think Celtic would have won. But can't
I,
really, I
I
can't
see
really
what you
judge it
mean.
with Nancy being there, because
But at the
his
same
it was
time,
all wrong. It was all wrong.
from a St Man point of view, the luck was always going to change, because they probably should have got a point against Rodgers' team. They probably should have got a point at least against O'Neill's team,
Mhm.
and then all it took was a div. But we'll leave it there, and we'll reconvene on Tuesday to talk
Tuesday
about deadline day, and
transfers. Yeah,
obviously. But I think there is a game on Tuesday, which is St Mirren Hearts, which I think we
right.
should just quickly predict. I'm going to say that one will be 2-1 Hearts, um,
You're
because
probably
I
right.
don't
They
think we'll
will
do
win
the
that.
pods by the time of that one.
They'll probably win. I'd say, well, 2-0. Then I'll go 2-0.
Right,
For that.
cool. We'll leave it there, just because I
Yep.
don't want to predict a game that's already happened.
Right. Cool.
Right, cool. I'll
Right.
speak to you later.
Right. Okay.
Right,
Cheers. Thanks again.
bye.
Right. Bye
Bye.
bye.